Hello and welcome to round 3 of the Terex Australian Supercross Championships, brought to you by Milwaukee Tools. We are covering the open class tonight, the 450 riders, and what a night it's going to be. We're at Mount Gambier in South Australia. Cam Williams, welcome. We're in for a huge one.
Borderline Speedway is going to turn it on for us. Mount Gambier, we've gone regional with this one. Western Pike, Josh Hill, Matt Moss. The lineup is phenomenal, isn't it? So exciting.
It sure is. Now, Matt Moss has been unstoppable so far. 2 wins from 2 starts. He did it once from a start to finish, and round 2 come from the back of the pack and methodically picked his way through. Is anyone going to be able to stop him tonight?
Look, you have to look to Josh Hill and Western Pike to improve their performances. A little bit more time in country on the bike, and we know how hard it is to go and race a national championship somewhere else, you know. The likes of Jay Marmont stepped up as well, and has he got it going into this round?
Now, let's not forget 20 laps the duration. We're talking some serious intensity here for Supercross.
It's going to be intense, and the track's breaking up just a little bit in practice. We saw that. I don't think it's going to be too bad tonight, and the heat, well, it's not going to be a factor here. So fitness is going to be the key. Tyre selection and suspension setup. There we have it.
Well, South Australia love their Supercross. Let's see what they've got for us tonight. Matt Moss is a rider that can do it both ways, and what I'm liking from him so far, he's easing his way into the race, much different to what we've seen from him in the past, which is sometimes a little bit erratic because he has got more will, more desire and drive than anyone. He's outside, back to the inside, straight across to the left here. Now let's see, and makes the pass, a little bit of contact. And he has dominated the Outdoor Motocross Championship and looking to do the same in Supercross. What a year for Matt Moss, what a year for Suzuki. Up and over to receive the checkered flag. Round 2 of the Terex Australian Supercross Championships goes to Matt Moss. What an unbelievable ride.
I've got a bigger goal than Australia for next year. I want to go race the first couple rounds of AMA. So, you know, this is just a stepping stone, and obviously I'll be coming back for next year. But I feel like I'm in the peak of my career. So, you know, why not give it one more shot and keep the head demons away. I've had my brother to ride with for the last 2 weeks, then he headed back up to train with Dan Reardon. So had Luke Stykes with me, just trying to keep the ball rolling. Obviously 4 weeks off is a long time, and you know, trying to carry that momentum over 4 weeks is pretty hard. But we've qualified first in our first practice. Obviously we've got time qualifying next, so you know, I feel good. The bike's good. We made some changes over the 4 weeks that is improved. So you know, looking forward to it. I think Gibbs is starting to show a lot of speed. I didn't quite expect it from him, but you know, he's going to be the man to beat next year for sure. But you know, my brother, Marmont, Josh Hill, and Pike, you know, there's 6 or 7 of us that could win a race. So it's going to be good, and I'm just hoping the Suzuki keeps getting me out to the good starts, and we can keep going forward.
Nighttime Supercross, this is what it's all about. We're on board with Daniel McCoy. This is his hot lap around this circuit.
Get a look at this track. Purpose-built here in the middle of a speedway in Mount Gambier, Lee. These purpose-built tracks sometimes really do throw a few curveballs, don't they?
They do, and if you have a little bit of a look here, as we said, under lights, the surface of the track here, the soil they've used is relatively dark. Makes it a little bit difficult to see at times, but I tell you what, it is starting to chew out. You can see with this footage, some of the ruts starting to form. It makes it very, very tricky. Up and over the big triple and tipping it into a right-hander through the rhythm section, on off with the tabletop. A lot of combinations here, given the riders so many options. Now this is a very cool triple, easing to the right hand. Now that means the riders have to turn as they're going. A lot of skill involved. Sweeping around the left-hander here and up and over the finish line. A big double to complete 1 lap here at Mount Gambier.
Daniel McCoy looking very, very strong. Pick up some vision from a little bit earlier on. The guys enjoying themselves there, having a nice cold beverage, filling up the stands here at the Mount Gambier Speedway. Time to go Supercross racing, Lee. The first heat of the Pro Opens.
Yeah, that's correct. Have a look down. You see Weston Pike, dry Honda rider, next to Lawson bopping. A little bit of old school versus new school there. And talking about new school, number 11 on the DPH Motorsports Suzuki, Sam Martin, a rider with a big future.
Man, that kid has got a big future. Another one of the rookies this year, been very, very well performed. First year in the big bike class, first year out of 19s actually for Sam Martin. Here's the start list. Cade Mosick from Jacob Wright, Sam Martin, Lawson Bopping, Weston Pike, Matt Moss and Brad Matheson.
And very important to mention there, Cade Mosick only just back on the bike for 2 days after a broken collarbone, going in for surgery, getting that plated and back out and on the machine. It's amazing how quickly they can turn around a shoulder, a collarbone fracture there. Unbelievable. In the starter's hands now, drop of the gate. What a jump from Matt Moss on the Motul Pirelli Suzuki machine. He's got Weston Pike trying to go around the outside, but Moss will control the inside. And we must make mention the confidence coming out of Matt Moss at the moment after dominating rounds 1 and 2, taking maximum points both times.
He was phenomenal, wasn't he? The one thing that reminds me of was Todd Waters coming out of the first 3 rounds of the National Motocross Series. He was amazing. No one getting within cooey of him. And you have to say that the confidence is just oozing out of Matt Moss at the moment. And he's well deserved it. He is riding exceptionally well. He's been working very, very hard all year.
And a massive set of whoops here as we see Matt Moss making his way into him, getting across the top. Not too bad whatsoever. Oh, a rider getting parked there. Lawson bopping, copping a little bit of a bump there and going straight over the top. BCP Honda rider Brad Matheson coming through, making the most of that opportunity and sliding up a position. Let's have a little bit of a look now at the Gopro replay of that start. A little bit of wheel spin there from Weston Pike, and that allowed Matt Moss to jump out unbelievably.
Matt Moss just pushing nice and wide here, and as you said, Lee, controls the inside. How's this cornering ability here from Matt Moss? Doesn't sit down through the corner, stands up, gets right on the gas, only able to double though, which effectively pushed everybody back. Only to double instead of that triple there. Now Weston Pike trying to get on terms here with Matt Moss and see what Mossie's got to offer here. This tricky rhythm section down the side there, Lee. A lot of options for these guys through there, isn't there?
Yeah, there definitely is. Now, up on the pegs through there, just drifting. Some superior bike control there from Matt Moss. But right at this point in time, Weston Pike just trying to hang onto the back of the current Outdoor National Championship leader, crowned only just recently. And Cade Mosick back there in 3rd place, doing a great job, just trying to keep these riders in sight at the moment. But definitely a little bit of a battle between Suzuki versus Honda. A lot of water down through this section.
Man, Cade Mosick, he has had a torrid year so far this year. I'm sure he would know all the staff at his local hospital on a first-name basis. The year you really want to forget in terms of injuries, hasn't it been?
Yeah, well, look, he's got so much speed. He's exceptionally fast. He's just having a tough run. He just needs to come out the back of this bad luck. And I guess if you're looking and you're comparing your good times versus your bad times, a little bit of an excursion off the side of the track there, you'd have to say Mosick surely's got to smile at himself and go, you know what, I've got a couple of years worth of that bad luck out of the way now.
Yeah, he's kicked every black cat, broken as many mirrors as humanly possible. Yet here he is out here in this heat. Ooh. 3rd place right now. Matt Moss just a little bit of over-acceleration out of the corner. That allows Weston Pike to close that gap. Put the squeeze on Matt Moss. Let's see what Weston Pike's got here if he's going to switch it up down the Suzuki rhythm lane. Goes to the outside of Mossy.
Well, a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes there from Matt Moss, but no problem going up the inside there. He'll never take the easy route. He'll never just choose to sit behind and elect to follow for a little while. He has got the confidence that he can ride through this little bit of a rut that he's in at the moment, making a couple of those small little mistakes that we very rarely see. Weston Pike trying to capitalise on these small little mistakes.
Just gets to the inside again and putting plenty of pressure on as we go to the GoPro replay here. This move here from Weston Pike gets a good run through the Suzuki rhythm lane, then gets to the outside, and unfortunately for him, Matt Moss just drives in a bit deeper. Looks like Pike tries to shut off early, but Matt Moss gets good drive off that berm, and there's no chance there for Weston Pike.
Now we'll keep our eyes peeled and see if it continues, but at the moment, a little bit of washing out of the wheels. Now, not just one particular wheel. I'm not saying, right, it's just the rear end washing out or the front end. It's both. He's had 2 examples and another one just there. The back end washes out just a little bit. Now, I'm not quite sure if he's just lost a little bit of concentration or he's a bit rattled by the American behind him, but certainly a little bit of skating around for him in these slippery conditions, which normally Matt Moss exceptionally smooth in these kind of circumstances.
Pike just goes to the inside again, getting Lots of use of those tear-offs now. Western Pike just drifted off a little bit there. He's ripping through his tear-offs at a big rate there. Matty Moss looking very good. Sweeps right through that turn there. Just open up enough of a gap now over Western Pike to take a bit of a breath and relax a little bit and find his groove.
Such a beautiful takeoff ramp, that triple at the finish line double that we just saw. It looked great. Mossy sliding through those first 3 whoops just a little bit. You've got to be careful. If that gets away from you and it slides into that 4th one and goes out another 10 or 15 centimetres, it can end in disaster. But, you know, that's the kind of bike control that these pros have, to be able to drift through a set of whoops. Most mere mortals would be thinking to themselves, my bike's drifting through a set of whoops. I'm about to go sailing over the bars. It wouldn't have even entered his mind for a second there.
Just explain for the viewers at home, when you say washing out, exactly what does that mean?
Well, the wheels start to lose traction. Now, a lot of the time for any of our MotoGP fans out there, you'll see the wheels, purposely the rear end sliding coming into the corner. On a motocross bike, we tend to slide them around a lot more than in MotoGP or any road sort of surface for that matter. Everyone knows you've got rubber on dirt, it's going to slide around a little bit. Some riders are very controlled with that, others are a little bit erratic, and you can really tell when you watch them closely. Some are a lot more comfortable. I know me personally, I always tried to keep it nice and smooth and not slide too much. I'd panic if it was sliding too much, whereas others are just happy to throw it into a drift and very comfortable when that bike's piffed out to the side.
Matt Moss looking very, very comfortable right now. Up and over that big Carlton Dry triple. Stretches it out and then along this long Honda rhythm lane. Oh, there's an interesting change up there as well. Opts to just try and double over that on-off section. And Pike still in closer tendency, so he'll get lots of confidence from this. Matt Moss was thoroughly dominant in Darwin first 2 rounds, and Western Pike, you know, he's come back with a head of steam. I think he did venture back to the US in between rounds 2 and 3 here. So Western Pike, as we get the final lap now with Matt Moss, lots of confidence moving forward into this 3rd round.
Through the whoops one more time, and Matt Moss in this latter stage of this qualifying heat race really has found his feet. He's starting to smooth it out a little bit, starting to look a little bit more like the Mossy that we expect. But just as we say that, a last lap charge from Western Pike, the Carlton Dry Honda rider, wants to finish first. He doesn't want another second placing here. A little bit short there for the number 102 Suzuki rider. And Mossy with his traditional body position, really upright with that upper body when he gets to the peak of his height on a jump. And it's a very, very cool body position that it is. But when he's back on the ground, so aggressive, carries his body weight exceptionally low center of gravity. Checkered flag out, and a terrific win here in qualifying heat number 1 for Matt Moss. 2nd place, Western Pike coming through. And not too far back there for Sam Martin in 3rd place. Kate Mosey coming through in 4th.
Solid performance there from Sam Martin. There you see it, Matt Moss from Western Pike. Sam Martin gets 3rd, the man with a recently broken collarbone. What a great performance from Cade Mosey. In 4th, his good buddy Jacob Wright, Lawson Bopping, and Brad Matheson rounding out the field.
Hey guys, this is Cam Sinclair. Just out here at Mount Gambier for the 3rd round of the Supercross. I'm going to explain to you the logistics of speed and style. Well, speed and style is a combination of Supercross and freestyle. It's where, say, the guy who wins the race by 3 seconds, but the guy who loses the race beats him by 4 points in the shoot category, then he'll win by 1 point. So I'm excited to be a big part of it here at Mount Gambier.
Thank you very much, Cam Sinclair. What a legend of freestyle. Phillip Island product, Breton Drager. There you have it, one of the coolest things in action sports in a long time. A guy flipping 150 kilos of angry motorcycle. Big jackhammer there from Cameron Sinclair. Lee Hogan, this stuff wasn't going on when you were racing, was it?
Well, it was with just little one-leggers and one-handers, but, you know, we're talking back in the 50s and 60s when I was racing. Well, maybe not quite back that far. But, yeah, look, everything's changed nowadays, and, you know, just trying to bump it up and trying to step it up to the next level. What can they come up with next? You know, Cameron Sinclair with his double backflip. You know, surely they're starting to push the envelope to that stage where it's going to be hard to go much further.
It's amazing, isn't it? Jackson Strong, this kid, X Games gold medalist, first man to front flipping competition. Great big stripper flip there from him. Just notice the leg goes through the bars there. There's Cameron Sinclair. We call that a suicide no-handed backflip. And I have to say it is suicide, let's be perfectly honest. Breton Drager. Well, there's the first of the freestyle right there, just upside down with a knack-knack flip. big heart attack, double grab heart attack in what we call a train formation there. So Jackson Strong followed by Cameron Sinclair with tricks all around for the three of these guys. At least they look like they're having fun, don't they, Lee?
They certainly do, and I've got to say, a lot of these fans here come along to watch Supercross, but they love a little bit of freestyle action. And let's not forget, Cameron Sinclair come from a Supercross background, and not just a mid-pack, it's someone that could go out and win a race. And we all know the Cam Sinclair Stories movie out twice, and which is basically his life story on how it all happened, nearly dying and then coming back to win gold. An amazing athlete. Well, great job from these guys here. When we come back from the break, plenty more action. Stick around. American rider Josh Hill here at round 3, trying to get his first podium.
This summer was really an eye-opener that I think I can get back up front and run with the guys for for podiums back in the States. But right now I have to worry about getting on the podium here in Australia. It's everybody's been riding really well, and we kind of had to redevelop the Suzuki 450 while I've been here, but we're getting there. Spent most of my time down in Melbourne, staying at Cade Mosig's house with him and his family, and riding his Supercross track and just trying to get as fit and ready as I can for the rest of the rounds. Everybody's so cool, laid back out here. The racers are cool to talk to, and they really talented guys out here. Nobody's really scared either, and it's a cool scene down here. I enjoy it. I think I got a lot of competitors out here. I don't think it's just one guy. Darwin Moss was the dominant guy, but the tracks are a bit different, and I think there's going to be some guys on the Yamahas that are riding good, and and I think Marmon's going to be fast too. So there's a lot of guys out here I have to worry about instead of just one. Everybody's seeming to have some problems with the whoops today. They're a little bit bigger, and they're real loose, and they're getting real cupped out, and it's just hard to read them. You have to come in with a lot of speed and commit, and then kind of control your power through them. So everybody's been struggling. Hopefully I got my bike dialed, and we'll get through them good.
Well, South Australia really enjoys their Supercross, and Mount Gambier is no exception to that. They've come out here in numbers to have a little bit of a look at their favourite riders, and one of their favourite sons, Kirk Gibbs, local Mount Gambier boy, the MotorX KTM factory rider. He is lined up here in heat number 2.
MotorX KTM factory guy has had a great year so far, Kirk Gibbs. The grid we're looking at, Hayden Melross, the man himself, Kirk Gibbs, Louis Woods, Josh Hill, the American import, Daniel McCoy, the second of the MotorX KTM riders, Jake Moss, Callan Dixon, Jay Marmont, and Jack Zara rounding out the field for this one, Lee.
We're looking forward to seeing Josh Hill and what he's got for us here. He looks like a different rider from practice and qualifying to what we saw in the first 2 rounds. Now, a completely different engine in the motorcycle. A lot of development's gone into it. We're only moments away here. Eyes down on the start gate. We're looking for the movement and the drop of that gate. We'll see these riders take off. And what a jump out of the gate there from Kirk Gibbs, but Jake Moss is headed straight to the outside.
Gone to the outside here. Now they stack up a little bit. Hill goes to the inside and covers his line over Marmont. No one able to triple out. Look at Josh Hill. He's made up 3 places in 2 corners there, Hill. Now he's trying to get to the inside of Jake Moss and control the line into the triple. He'll do that with Kirk Gibbs, and they round the corner together up and over the double. That next one, though, this is going to be Josh Hill's position. And Jay Marmont stacks up there in behind Hayden Melross, the young 17-year-old.
Well, we can see a little bit of roost there on the GoPro footage with Jake Moss up and over the finish line. Kirk Gibbs not too far back. The local fans will be liking that, but it's Suzuki 1-2 with the Hart and Huntington Ensure My Ride. Suzuki back there in second place. Oh, a rider off the side of the track, Hayden Melross. We didn't see him in the first couple of rounds due to an injury just prior to round 1.
Wow, Jay Marmont got to the inside of Hayden Melross and made that pass stick. He's a big kid, Melross, a real man-child at only 17. Really nice kid. And as you said, Lee, had a big one in Darwin at the start of that Marmont. Big, hefty seat bounce. We'll go back and pick up the whole shot thanks to GoPro.
We'll have a look at the replay here. And like we said, a good jump from, 2 riders, both Kirk Gibbs, but it was Jake Moss who held it on all the way around the outside. And on the far inside, Melross on that Honda machine. But a great little bit of footage there to be able to see what those front 3 or 4 place getters were doing.
Just how they all went to the inside of Jake Moss eventually by going around the outside was the man that were playing that unit hole shot. So we stack up now. Melross goes to the outside of Marmont. These guys keep finding each other on the track by the looks of that. Gibbs getting the better of his teammates' battle there with Daniel McCoy at the moment. Josh Hill, while he's trying to get on terms with Jake Moss. Another battle there going on between the Suzukis for the superiority there. That H&H Insure My Ride machine versus the Campbell Mining Suzuki of Jake Moss. And get a look at that whoop speed from Josh Hill. That is electrifying pace across those whoops. And I'd say he's closed that gap down there on Jake Moss.
Yeah, he's trying to reel him in just a little bit. Moss has got a terrific little gap at the moment, though. A couple of seconds, that's all you need to be able to pick and choose and make your way around the track and not have to stress too much about the rider behind you. But have no doubt, Josh Hill is on a charge and he is on his way. Definitely can't see too much out of that particular bit of footage there. It's McCoy nearly off the side of the track, but a big triple up and down the other side there. So many options here today at Mount Gambier, and that's what the riders like. Options allow passing opportunities, and the faster riders can sometimes come up with some very, very cool stuff there. Great little scrub there from Jake Moss and the Campbell Mining Suzuki. There really is a little bit of colour matching here, isn't it? First and second on the Suzukis, and we've got third and fourth there on the factory KTM, both the factory MotorX KTM mounted riders.
Now Josh Hill looking to try and get on terms with Jake Moss. Interesting line now, just quads out of that corner there to try and close that gap down a little bit. Daniel McCoy running a nice low, I should say, tight line there out of the turn. Up and over this Carlton Drive triple. I'll sweep right again through this rhythm lane. And as you were saying, Lee, there's a bunch of different options here, isn't there? Josh Hill very, very fast through there.
Yeah, and some of those tighter technical parts of the track, I think Josh Hill's certainly making up a little bit of time, you know, and it's probably, you know, parts of the AMA Supercross tracks that get a little bit like that. It's probably starting to feel a little bit at home. You know, at times, I know, suspension, having a bit of a chat with Josh, quite a bit, all copping a little bit of a kick there through the woods, and also having a chat with Chris Woods, the team manager of the Carlton Drive Honda team, talking about Western Pike and his suspension setup. They really have to change a lot. You can't just bolt on a set of your US spec suspension and come out here and think it's going to be good. They tend to have to soften it off quite a bit.
Interesting, isn't it? Because we saw that Josh Hill really struggled out in Darwin with that. It was more like outdoor conditions really than a Supercross, just given the changeable surface and a lot of loose soil there. Hill looks to me like he's definitely carrying better lap speed right now than what we're seeing from Jake Moss. We're going to go to our Carlton Drive bonus action moment with Jay Marmont on board here as he tries to get to the inside of Hayden Melross. A little bit of a mistake in the corner there from Melross, and that's allowed Jay Marmont, as he cases that one, to come to the inside, sweep across the line, and really protected himself there. Marmont didn't. He got up to the outside and really gave Melross no room to play there at all.
Well, it was a relatively easy pass. It was brought on by a couple of little mistakes there from Melross. We scan their eyes back to our leaders, and which is starting to develop into a great little tussle at the moment. Jake Moss versus Josh Hill. And back to third place, Kirk Gibbs. A bit of a lonely ride as he started to establish just the smallest of gaps there now over Daniel McCoy. Both wheels, I can tell you from an ex-racer's point of view, there's nothing quite as scary. There's not one, but both wheels drifting up through a mud patch into a corner. You just lose all forms of traction. It's one thing to have one wheel with a lot of traction and the other one sliding, but when both start to do it, it's kind of like in the car when you got the front end back end starting to go. Let's not compare it to it. That's probably not a good analogy.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because the drift is one thing, but it's when they grip. Because as soon as they grip, it's unpredictable, isn't it? And then you don't know exactly which way the bike's going to react.
Absolutely. Let's keep an eye here on second place rider Josh Hill trying to make a move now. He's trying to set up a pass. Now, if you start to edge up on a rider like Jake Moss, especially knowing how aggressive Mossy is, you can't just pick and choose, all of a sudden I'm on the back of him, I'm just going to pass him wherever I want. You need to pick and choose. You need to set it up from a lap or so prior. You need to perhaps pick a part of the track where you're that little bit faster, and you need to methodically plan it out and execute that plan, because if you don't, it's not going to come off. It's so hard passing someone that's almost identical speed to you, and sometimes you do need to get just that little bit aggressive. We're getting that little bit, as I was about to say, the latter stages, but let's change that. It's the last lap board. Last lap board has come out now for these two riders, and Josh Hill is all over the back of Jake Moss.
He'll go to the inside here. Alignment's rhythm lane. Oh, mistake by Moss. That allows Josh Hill to get to the inside. A little bit of a bump there. Hill has a bit of a look back there now. He kind of parks him, and Jake Moss runs it in deep, and I have to say that's anything but very attractive from Jake Moss. A little bit of an aggressive move there. Now Hill goes back to the inside, tries to return the favour and doesn't quite come off.
Yeah, a little bit of passion going on here right now, Lee.
Well, it's great to see a little bit of that. They're both very aggressive riders, and there was both a little bit of plastic rub in there. You know, that first pass from Josh, they touched it a little bit, but very aggressive move from Jake Moss there, and the retaliation didn't come from Josh Hill that I think we possibly could have seen. He elected to take the friendly way out, so I think that's not the last that we'll see of these two, but what a win from Jake Moss, and what a pip of the bike sideways for Josh Hill. Can turn a bike upside down. Great ride there from those two, putting on a sensational show. Kirk Gibbs back there in third place.
Good ride from Gibbs. Jake Moss gets a win from Hill, from then Gibbs, Daniel McCoy, Jay Marmont, Hayden Melross, Louis Woods, Callum Dixon and Jack Zara rounding out the field in this one.
Yeah, great ride there. Marmont up there in fifth place, not where he wants to be, but nonetheless. Let's have a look back here at the replay. That's the first little touch, and a bit of a bump there to Jake, but Josh almost going down in the process. And here's the big one. The moment the battle lines were drawn. It is on, ladies and gentlemen. All right, it's time for a break now. When we come back, it is time for the 20-lap final here at Mount Gambier. Doesn't matter what sport we're talking about, there's always a percentage of confidence to be gained by being the local hometown hero. And here tonight at round 3 of the Terex Australian Supercross Championships, the hometown hero is certainly KTM factory rider Kirk Gibbs. Watching you out there in practice and qualifying, absolutely flying. And what a year you've had, mate. You must be on top of the moon.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's been a good year. Big learning year for me. Obviously started off pretty slow with the motocross, and then yeah, started finding some settings, and you know, the team really helped and pushed me. So yeah, it was good, and yeah, ended off pretty well. And now leading into the Supercross, we were a little unprepared for the first round, but yeah, it went not too bad.
Best of luck here tonight in the big 20 lapper.
Thank you very much.
Well, is confidence going to play a part for our local hometown hero, Mount Gambier's Kirk Gibbs? We're about to find out very soon. Yes, best of luck to hometown hero Kirk Gibbs on the Motor X KTM here. And his hometown crowd, Mount Gambier, getting right behind him.
Aren't they getting behind him and Luke Arbin indeed? Full moon. Well, we know the crazy things happen on a full moon. Is it going to be Kirk Gibbs, the hometown hero, who's going to take it? Is Josh Hill going to be the man? There's the lineup for us. Matt Moss, well, he wants to keep that red plate. Jake Moss, Weston Pike, the man himself, Josh Hill, Sam Martin, Kirk Gibbs.
Yeah, really is that first 4 seem to be the ones that are going to battle for it. Kirk Gibbs, Kate Mosick there, as we said, coming back from that broken collarbone. In 11th place here, we've got Lawson Bopping, Hayden Melross, Brad Matheson, his first Supercross this year, coming out and having a little bit of fun. Louis Woods, Callum Dickinson and Jack Zara. That's your lineup here. 20 laps the duration. Mount Gambier Supercross round 3, the Terex Australian Supercross, brought to you by Milwaukee Tools. We're only moments away from seeing that 15-second board. It's get nervous time. Of course, most of these bikes here have fuel injection, so the days of checking the fuel tap is gone. Keep your eyes down on the starting gate. We're about to get into it.
Pick up the view from the inside there with Jacob Wright. To the very, very inside goes Matt Moss. Looks like Josh Hill got a bit of a better start though, but it's going to be Matt Moss who's going to claim that unit hole shot. Josh Hill goes to the inside. Oh, Kirk Gibbs was it?
Kirk Gibbs has gone off the left. He has landed on some tough blocks. There we see him trying to pick the bike up. That is not the time of the race you want to have a crash. The smallest of crashes means you go from up near the front of the pack to dead last. The second corner, not the way to go. Unfortunately, that was just him making a bad mistake, trying to jump a triple when there was traffic everywhere. Already Josh Hill trying to go up the inside of Matt Moss, trying to lay down the gauntlet here in this very early stages, once again up the inside.
Well, he's not going to mess around here, Josh Hill. He wants to get to the front and establish himself in this one. Kirk Gibbs, it was a hero or zero move, and unfortunately it was a ladder for Gibbs in that one. Now Matt Moss just gets a bit of breathing room over Josh Hill. We see these guys in the mid-pack really trying to make moves and push forward at the moment. Working the outside line there, Hill. Moss comes to the inside. Doesn't look to be any real benefit of either line there over the other one. Now Josh Hill got his hands full with Weston Pike, the Carlton Dry Honda rider, trying to push up on the inside there. Hill from Jake Moss, I should say now, then Weston Pike. Then we go with Cade Mosey just in front of Jay Marmot.
Well, it's interesting to see there on that right-hand sweeper before the triple. Matt Moss, our leader, going for the safety of the berm or rush, whatever you want to call it. It's a little bit of both. Josh Hill in second place there, having the confidence to keep it a little bit tighter on the flat ground. Bike didn't look to be stepping out too much at all. There we see Jay Marmot sneaking up the inside of CDR Yamaha rider Cade Mosey. Let's have a look at the GoPro replay of the start here. We're on board with Weston Pike, who really did get squeezed off just a little bit, but he really is still in touch with our race leaders here. As he exited out of the turn, he sort of made something out of nothing. But from the left-hand side, you can see that Matt Moss jumped exceptionally well, but shut it down nice and early. Got on the brakes, tucked it in the inside, and another inside in turn two. But there we could just see at the end of the screen there, we could see Kirk Gibbs landing off the side of the track. That was devastating news, and where it all went pear-shaped for the KTM rider.
I'd have to say he was prepared to do that from the get-go, Kirk Gibbs, wasn't he? He knew that if he could get that triple locked and loaded, and he could well move up and put a move on Matt Moss, or potentially just lock down that second place. Oh, Cade Mosey getting a wild ride through those whoops. Out in front, though, it's Matt Moss, and his cup is overflowing with confidence right now. Matty Moss has put in the hard work, he's done the yards, and man, he is riding so well right now.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a Suzuki freight train at the moment with him at the head of the pack. Josh Hill back there in second, and of course the other Moss boy, Jake Moss, there back there in third. We're on board with Weston Pike, who's trying to track down these riders. The Carlton Dry Honda rider who proved to be so fast in practice. Oh, just on the side of the screen there, you called it, Cam Williams. We had a rider go down. We're just trying to pick up who that is. That looked to be Kirk Gibbs again. So it has gone from bad to worse for the MotorX KTM rider, and he doesn't look to have come off quite as well this time.
No, he doesn't look good at all, Kirk Gibbs. The guy's from Suzuki Race Safe, straight over there in attendance, and he's a tough kid, Kirk Gibbs, so no doubt that if there was any way he could get up, he would most definitely be up. And there's the flashing light there, Suzuki Race Safe. Sam Martin to the inside of Lawson Bopping there. Nice little pass there, forcing Boppo to give that position up. Back out front though, Matt Moss. Now Weston Pike trying to get to work here on Jake Moss. Put a little bit of pressure on the second of the Moss twins in this freight train at the moment. As you said, Lee, definitely a Suzuki freight train out in front. You've got this vision of Pike, the on-off section there. The timing on this has to be impeccable, doesn't it? You have no time to react if something goes wrong.
You have to have good timing, but the good thing about this track is there's so many options. We mentioned a little bit earlier on, we'll touch on it again. For the likes of these riders and the caliber that they're at, what it means is if you're just that little bit faster than the rider in front of you, it's going to give you some passing opportunities. There's nothing worse than riding and racing on a track where you can't pass other riders. And this track, while it does allow passing opportunities, it tends to push towards some aggressive ones. Everyone loves to see a little bit of bar bashing out there sometimes. You don't want to see dirty, let's say crazy riding, but you like seeing the odd occasional aggressive move put on for sure.
We all say rubbing's racing. I think we say it till we're blue in the face sometimes at these races, don't we? Right now, though, Josh Hill and Matt Moss, things are starting to look pretty good here.
What a massive cartwheel end for end and hammered into the ground with his Suzuki motorcycle is Matt Moss. He lost the back end up the takeoff ramp. A handful of throttle just spelled disaster. Now, how will this play out in the championship points, Chase? Josh Hill has got to be in with a running at the moment. Let's have a look here. We're on board with Hayden Melross.
He goes by Matt Moss there as well. Let's pick up this GoPro replay. This is going to be the replay of the season here, Lee. Talk us through what happened.
All right, now have a look. See there, steps out to the side, and that bike just flipped around and landed straight on Matt Moss. Now, fortunately for him, we'll see it in slow-mo here. Watch when the back wheel comes down. It slots in between his legs, and somehow someone was praying for him there because that could have been way worse.
Well, we're just talking about the confidence that Matt Moss was riding with, and we talked about it, and how the bike was stepping out and moving all sorts of sideways on him, and that time there was no bringing it back from that one. Now Josh Hill out in front, he's got Jake Moss pretty close attendance here, and we know that Jake Moss hates being beaten by Americans in Australia, so he will be doing his level best to get on terms with Josh Hill and put a move in.
Well, look, Jake Moss hates being beaten by anyone, but at the moment finds himself in an American sandwich. He's got Josh Hill at the head of the pack. He has got Weston Pike back there in third place on the Carlton Dry Honda machine, trying to make a move. Now, he looks very impressive. I think it's going to be pretty hard to stop Josh Hill from here.
Yeah, Hill does look very, very good. Interesting to see how Matt Moss is going to do there. Straight to the inside of Hayden Melross. Melross sweeps back to the outside. Looked to me like it might have taken a little while for Moss to get himself together, but right now he's back on a move. How does this work, Lee? The kid was upside down, got drilled into the ground, yet somehow or another he's managed to pick himself up, and he just checked out from Hayden Melross there.
Well, one of Matt Moss's biggest strengths is he's tough. He's tough as nails. I remember last year when he had a big crash at round 1 of the Supercross Championship, and he was riding exceptionally well. He whole shot the race, went down, had a little bit of a crash, come together with Billy McKenzie, dislocated his shoulder. Now, most people would be solving him in the back of the ambulance, not Matt Moss. Walked straight up to the podium, slammed his own shoulder into the pole to try to pop it back in all by himself. They don't build too many as tough as Mossy. He's definitely got some strengths for sure, but one of the biggest strengths is his toughness. So he took a big hit there. There'll be plenty of time to have a bit of a sook about pain and whatever later on down the track. He's not one rider that's going to do that during a race.
He's a man who looks to rebuild this championship now, doesn't he? He's going to shed some points here to Josh Hill. Hopefully for him, it's not enough that he's going to shed the red plate. But Josh Hill, well, Jake Moss is there. A bit of a coming together in the heat race. So Josh Hill, he'll be looking to do his best to run and hide from Jake Moss now, won't he?
He will, that's for sure, and it really is playing into his hands at the moment. The main event so far has been methodical and calculated for Josh Hill. He got an okay start, but it was more what he did with the first and second turn that straight away slotted him up into second place. He just sat there, he put a little bit of pressure on, and then all of a sudden the mistake came. The mistake just happened to come when he was about a half a metre off the back of Matt Moss, who made a mistake in the corner prior. That kind of implied pressure, you can feel that. Now, did he force Matt Moss into that kind of mistake, or did Mossy make it all by himself? They'll leave that up to the people to decide, but either way, he is proving to be just on a complete run at the moment. It's going to be hard to stop him here.
He's looking very good, Josh Hill, isn't he? Interesting, we saw him today. He just looked like a different Josh Hill. As you pick up pictures of the man with the red plate, Matt Moss, he just looked so much more intense than we saw him in Darwin. Really was very focused and was coming here to get the win and wasn't going to accept anything less.
And back in second place at the moment still is Jake Moss. He's coming under increasing pressure, and we have a look on board at the moment with Brad Matheson, thanks to Doyle and Shields Racing. Good to have Matho on there. Oh, there we get a little bit of vision there of Lawson Bopping having his crash. We just caught a little snippet of it, but that was a huge crash. Just drove his shoulder into the ground.
That's the same place that claimed Kirk Gibbs, that little on-off section just there, and I'm not quite sure. We'll pick up this replay here by the looks of it as Lawson Bopping is still laying him a track. Yeah, we're going to go with the GoPro Replay. Why don't you talk us through this one as well, Lee?
All right, let's have a little bit of a look. If you see up on the top left-hand side of your screen, the bike was cartwheeling end for end. Dropped the front wheel down, just come a little bit short. Now, that is a part of the track that's been claiming riders all day, and it is not somewhere you can drop a back wheel. Now, a front wheel down. Now, was it wheel spin? Did he slip in neutral? There's any number of factors that could cause a crash like that. But either way, it's one of the scariest type of crashes you can have on a Supercross track.
He's a tough kid, Lawson Bopping, as we go back on board with Western Pike. He'll never make an excuse for it, but he's a type 2 diabetic, and he's also... Oh, Jake Moss goes down. Jake Moss has just gone down right smack bang in front of Western Pike, and that hands Western Pike second place. Wow. This is going to get a bit interesting. It's a full moon here tonight at Mount Gambier, and we're going to see that one, aren't we?
Well, let's have a look. We're about to catch the replay, I believe, in a second. The Terex Australian Supercross Championships GoPro Replay. This is the crash from Jake Moss. Keep your eyes peeled. Coming into this corner, trying to make a pass on a lapped rider, and just washed out both wheels, and that front end tucked at the last minute.
Wow, that was a pretty tough one for Moss. I would say he'll get back up and probably maintain third or fourth place. We'll keep our eye on the standings. As I was just saying with Lawson Bopping, type 2 diabetic, throw into the mix of that one glandular fever. So it's been a really tough year for that kid, and doesn't look promising for him right now. Thank God the guys from Suzuki Race Safe are here to help him.
Well, he's got such natural ability on the bike. There's some people that you can watch and just make it look effortless, and it's a pleasure to watch. Off the side of the track, Western Pike there fortunately picked a little gap in between those tough blocks, because let me tell you, if your front wheel runs into one of those tough blocks, it's like a magnet for some kind of carnage. It always seems to bring you down.
I think it was Cameron Taylor a few years ago, landed square in the middle one and actually bounced him back to his feet. That was an amazing crash.
Yeah, that was crazy, and he just happened to land his body on the tough blocks, and that's when you don't mind him. It's much better to land the body on a tough block than to land it on some dirt, I can tell you that. Let's have a look back here at our Hart and Huntington Insurmo Ride Suzuki race leader so far, stringing together the laps. It's all coming together for him now. Not the best in the first and second round up at Darwin, but round 3 is proving to be a change of momentum here. The number 75 rider from California in the United States of America is on a charge, and he has shown that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the latter half of this championship.
Probably about 6.5 laps to go now for Josh Hill. He's got Western Pike in attendance there, and pretty decent sized gap now between himself and Pike. We can just pick up Pike there in the background. I'd say that's going to have to be at 4 or 5 seconds. So Josh Hill, really he's going to be able to slip into his rhythm here, isn't he, Lee? Just find his groove and ride that without having to worry about protecting his lines or anything crazy like that.
Well, when you're in a position like this, you really do need to gauge. I should really make mention there, quite a few mistakes just in that one little row. He would have lost a little bit of time. But what he'd be doing is he'd be running his race based on his next closest competitor. If all of a sudden, for some reason or another, Western Pike slows down a second a lap, he can comfortably do that as well. You just need to keep your number 2 rider or the next person who's charging up behind you, you need to keep them in check. If they put on a real hard charge, you need to adapt to that and up your pace a little bit. The only thing that can be an external factor would be if there was someone like a Jake or Matt Moss coming from a 3rd or 4th placing that are coming at a rapid pace. You can sometimes be forgiven for forgetting about them, and that can catch you unawares sometimes.
That's where a lot of the information from the guy with the pit bull is going to come in handy, isn't it? You can see these guys on the track, but the physical times, if they close a second or so on lap, maybe you won't be able to pick it up as they come by. But there's those pit boards there, and they get a lot of information from that board, don't they?
Yeah, they certainly do, and that is your external information coming through. You know, on motocross, supercross, we don't have in-ears, and it's a good thing. I would hate, obviously don't race anymore, but back in my day, if someone said, look, we're going to implement into our sport that you're going to have in-ears and we're going to have to listen to team managers or mechanics or whatever. Oh my God, thank God they don't do that in our sport. So your way of getting information is via pit board. Now, you're reliant a little bit on your mechanic to give you the right information. Sometimes it's not the best. Sometimes they get so personal and hyped up and they give you emotional information rather than the info that you need to get.
Just cut and dried cold facts, isn't it? While you're hot and sweaty, and we talked about it when we did the last round of Darwin, that these guys have got so much going on. Their brain is having to process so much while their bodies are working so hard, aren't they?
Yeah, and they need to be concentrating. That's the beauty of a 20-lap final, is that, it's not just a fitness thing. Just to be able to concentrate for that length of time really is so critical.
Amazing concentration required by these. Quite often in Supercross, the heart rate up around the 170 to 200 mark. Anywhere between those is very, very common. And you're looking at maintaining that for somewhere between, say, 12 to 15 minutes?
Yeah, that's correct. It's normally the mid stages of the race that you really do need to make sure that you keep the brain switched on and, concentrating, because it's very easy to have a lapse of concentration, which will always end up in a crash.
There we see the blue flag being flown, though. So for you, those of you, I should say, not exactly motocross aficionados, that means give way to the guy behind you. Get out of his way and give him racing room. You see Jacob right there doing exactly that with Josh Hill. I think Jacob knows Josh pretty well. He's done a little bit of time around Moses' place in the last few weeks there, but very, very professional move from Jacob Wright.
Well, they're great friends there, but it wouldn't matter who it was. Jacob Wright, if he's getting a lap put down on him, he'll be smart enough to jump on the brakes and let him go through. He didn't play a factor in that corner. Let him take whatever line he wanted to take.
Been around a little while now, Jacob Wright won a bunch of junior championships, and he's another man that's come back from horrific injuries over the last few years. As we see Josh Hill just get enough time to have a big, long look up and over that triple there at Western Pike.
Yeah, the gap's starting to stretch out just a little bit now. He's got over the full length of the Whoops lead over his fellow American rider on the Carlton Dry Honda machine. Let's just paint a little bit of a picture here for you as far as the championship points tally goes. The almost unstoppable, unbeatable Matt Moss on the Motul Pirelli Suzuki after winning the first 2 rounds, a massive points lead. He is out of the top 3 as we speak. This will take a massive dent out of his championship points lead. It's going to close it right up.
Considering that he went 2 from 2, we're now only at the 3rd round. So Josh Hill, his first round wasn't fantastic, but you have to say Josh Hill now on this current form looks to me like he's really going to challenge for his championship, isn't he?
Yeah, he will. Look, he's exceptionally fit. We know how long he can last in a race. Having a look over now, just having a little bit of a double check there. Last lap board to go. 19 laps in the book and 1 more to go.
night and day in terms of form from Josh Hill. He has been electric. No coincidence, I have to say, that he's started working with the guys at BCP. His training is looking very good. Everything at the moment about Josh Hill is very, very strong, Lee Hogan.
Yeah, it's great to get the opportunity to work with him during his time here in Australia. He's in fine form at the moment, and he's turned around a disastrous first 2 rounds, and he's come out here all guns a-blazing and showing that he is going to be the main force to be reckoned with in the latter half of the series. Just put a lap down there on Marmont, whose peak is pointing straight up in the air. He's obviously come to grief. A little bit of a wave to the crowd. The changing of momentum, the pendulum has swung. The first victory in Australia for the number 75 Hart and Huntington. Ensure my ride, Suzuki rider, Josh Hill. What a win.
Fantastic performance from Josh Hill. He has been electric this afternoon. Western Pike, the second of the Americans, will make it a Quinella 1-2 for the Americans. Oh, Jake Moss will be ruining that mistake right now. He slides back into 3rd place. We're just waiting for Moss now to get across the finish line. And here comes the Campbell Mining Suzuki privateer, Josh Hill. He'll be very, very happy. Handshake there from his compatriot, Western Pike. Good sportsmanship there, Josh Hill. Wow, he's very, very happy. That BCP Hogan sticker on the top of that helmet along with the Dirt Shark stuff. What a great ride from Josh Hill.
Well, it's kind of like the monkey off his back, really. It's, you know, he would know he'd be expecting to win, but, you know, to come out and do that now, great job. So there we see Josh Hill taking the victory from Western Pike, Jake Moss, Daniel McCoy and Matt Moss back in 5th place. And there we see Jay Marmont down there in 8th, carrying the number 1 plate. Louis Woods there, number 15 on the Suzuki. Callum Dickerson on the Honda machine, and Brad Matheson, number 111.
A couple of DNFs there for Lawson Bopping and Kirk Gibbs. Fingers crossed the guys at Suzuki Rail Safe will treat them as best they can. On board with Western Pike, lap 6 for the Rockwell fastest lap. Lap 6, definitely in his groove in this one. Not even halfway through this race, and Western Pike lays down the fastest lap of the day.
Well, it's such a good time to lay down that fastest time. You're warmed up, and you're not at that latter stage of the race where you're starting to get a bit of arm pump and you're starting to fatigue, breathe a little bit heavier. But a 52nd, 0.313. How fast are the lap times here? So intense, and he is hooking in around this Mount Gambier circuit.
Definitely doing his best there to close that gap on Jake Moss. You can see Moss just up there. Funnily enough, Jake Moss, I should say, his fastest lap was exactly the same lap, and only a tenth in between them. So whether they knew that or it was coincidence or their plan was to charge at that point in order to open up a gap or in turn close a gap.
Well, really no surprises there. Lap 4 through to around about 8 you would expect to be those fast times. So 6, absolutely spot on. What an amazing lap from Western Pike.
I just got up there. I got like I think a 2nd place start when I came out of the 2nd corner, and I was just trying to ride behind Matt, and just kind of pacing and waiting, kind of just trying to wait for a mistake because he was making a lot of them, but he wasn't losing time. And then I got right up on his back tire, and he threw it away through the rhythm, and the rest was kind of just history. I had to kind of ride my own race, and I got some pressure from Jake Moss in the beginning and just tried to ride it out. There was a point in the moto, I think lap 12, I didn't know if my bike was going to make it. It started sputtering. I think we were running a bit lean, and it was starting to detonate a bit. So I had to kind of slow down the pace and just ride it out.
Yeah, you know, I was trying to keep it as consistent as possible. It didn't come off the greatest start. You know, I just tried to just find those guys' lines and see what I could do differently, and just kind of work them out. Ended up, you know, bad thing for the Mosses, they both went down. But you know, the track is torn up, and you know, its consistency is the biggest thing when it comes down to, you know, racing like this.
Well, let's take a look at the championship points tally here, and shuffled around it has been. Matt Moss, 66, still leads ahead of Jake Moss, 62, and then back to Western Pike on 58 points.
Josh Hill closing the gap now with that win on 56. Daniel McCoy, Jay Marmont, Cade Mosick, Sam Martin, Kirk Gibbs, and Lawson Bopping. They're sliding out of a 10 with a couple of DNFs. Tough night for those two guys.
But the main thing is that shuffling around has really closed it up, and any one of 4 riders still well and truly in with the championship points battle. What a night it's been here for round 3 of the Terex Australian Supercross Championships. The Pro Open class has delivered and delivered well. It was Josh Hill that came out on top and doing it in fine form on his Suzuki machine.
He was exceptional tonight, wasn't he? Matt Moss had that incident, and it seems like this field was that closely stacked that there was no coming back from that. But Josh Hill, fantastic performance.
Now, not only him, but Jake Moss, a little bit of an altercation, went down, still managed to keep it up on the podium though.
That's unlike Jake Moss. Normally if he goes down, he'll lose positions, where he's done
done the right thing, got back on the bike, charged hard and managed to keep it on the podium. Weston Pike, another solid performance from him as well.
Yeah, an amazing job from Weston Pike, the second of the Americans. Now, whether it was Matt Moss going down or it was Josh Hill taking the win, whatever it is, they've shown us that this championship is well and truly up for grabs. Cannot wait for the next 2 rounds, the double header next weekend at Phillip Island. Thanks for joining us.
To the very, very inside goes Matt Moss. Looks like Josh Hill got a bit of a better start though, but it's going to be Matt Moss who's going to claim that here at hole shot. Oh, Kirk Gibbs wasn't. Kirk Gibbs has gone off the left. He has landed on some tough blocks. Oh, what a massive cartwheel end for end and hammered into the ground. He lost the back end up to take off round. A handful of throttle just spelled disaster. The changing of momentum, the pendulum has swung. The first victory in Australia for the number 75, Josh Hill. What a win.
Fantastic performance from Josh Hill.